Hello, and welcome to Corley English Microlessons. Today we will be covering the common phrasal verb pick out. I'm your instructor, George Corley.
大家好，欢迎来到克林英语微课程。今天我们来学习一下高频短语动词 pick out 的用法。我是你们的主讲老师丽丽老师。Pick out 和我们上节课学习的 pick up 在语义上有着怎样的关联呢？咱们先来复习一下 pick up 的常用含义吧。
Right, these should cover all the common meanings of pick up. If you are interested in how to use it in everyday conversation, please go ahead and take a look at our previous lesson video. In that video, we explained its use in different situations with a lot of examples. If you haven't watched it yet, that is totally fine. For now, you can just keep these meanings in your mind as we explain pick out. After we are done, you should have a clear idea of how their meanings are related. Without further ado, let's get right to it. You might know that the verb pick can mean choose. The most common meaning of pick out is directly from this meaning. To pick out means to choose something or somebody from a set of options. It usually implies that there are many options to choose from. For example, John picked out 7 stones to take home with him. John picked out 7 stones to take home with him. Julie took an hour to pick out the toy she would take to Grandma's house. Julie took an hour to pick out the toy she would take to Grandma's house. Lucy was picked out to be the new manager of the store. Lucy was picked out to be the new manager of the store.
这个含义下的一个很常用的搭配为 pick out something or someone for a special reason， 翻译成中文也就是为某种特殊原因挑选出某物或某人。例如George picked out a vampire costume for the Halloween party. 乔治为万圣节派对挑选了一套吸血鬼装束。George picked out a vampire costume for the Halloween party. Nancy picked out several avocados for the salad this evening. 南希为今晚的色拉挑选了几个牛油果。Nancy picked out several avocados for the salad this evening. The magician picked out a boy from the audience for a demonstration. 魔术师从观众中挑选出一个小男孩来做演示。The magician picked out a boy from the audience for a demonstration.
Another meaning of pick out is to notice, perceive, or recognize. When you need to pick out something or someone, it usually implies that what you are looking for is hard to perceive or notice because of the background. For example, Jerry could just barely pick out Sarah's voice in the noise of the supermarket. Jerry could just barely pick out Sarah's voice in the noise of the supermarket. Olivia was able to pick out just the crest of a blue jay hidden in the branches of the tree. Olivia was able to pick out just the crest of a blue jay hidden in the branches of the tree. It is hard to pick out the sloth among the dense branches. It is hard to pick out the sloth among the dense branches.
“大家应该记得，咱们上节课学的 pick up 的一个含义也是察觉、识别。那么这两个短语动词的用法有什么区别呢？
Yep, their meanings appear very similar, but there are some subtle differences between the two when we use them in daily conversation. First of all, let's review our examples for this meaning of pick up. Jeff could pick up a faint trail in the dirt. Abby picked up a strong odor of gasoline in the air.
“从上节课的这两个例子，我们可以看出 pick up 所跟的宾语并不一定很难被察觉、识别。如果确实有难度的话，通常是因为该物本身的一些特质，比如可能是因为体积太小、声音过于微弱，或是因为该物其他的一些固有特性，而很难被人识别出或察觉到。为帮大家更好的理解，我们再来看两个例子。Mark picked up a quiet sobbing sound from the bedroom. 马克听到卧室传来轻微的抽泣声。Mark picked up a quiet sobbing sound from the bedroom. Matthew picked up a whiff of perfume when she came in. 他进来时，马修闻到了一股香水味儿。Matthew picked up a whiff of perfume when she came in. 大家注意一下，这两个例子在描述察觉对象时，不管是抽泣声还是香水味儿，都没有特别的强调它们很难被发现。如果现实中察觉起来有难度的话，也只是因为抽泣声本身太弱，香水味本身太淡而引起的，跟其他的物品没有任何关系。而用 pick out 时，通常意味着某物因为背景的干扰而很难被察觉，或许是因为噪音太大、人太多，或是其他物品掩盖了你要找的东西。总之是由于搜索目标与背景融为了一体而很难被识别出来。大家可以结合着柯老师上面给出的3个例子体会一下。
Pick out also means discern or distinguish someone or something. This is very close to the previous meaning, since it usually implies a scene where there are a lot of things that are similar to what you are looking for, or the thing you're looking for blends into the background. For example, Joe could not pick out the man he was looking for from the crowd. Joe could not pick out the man he was looking for from the crowd. We were hardly able to pick out our own kids among the children when they were all pouring out of the school. We were hardly able to pick out our own kids among the children when they were all pouring out of the school. A zebra's stripes make it hard for predators to pick out an individual among the herd. A zebra's stripes make it hard for predators to pick out an individual among the herd.
除了用在实体的人或物上之外，这一含也可以用于识别、辨识比较抽象的信息和知识。比如，我们可以说George was not sure if he could pick out the facts he needed from the dense tome. 乔治不确定他可否从这部厚重巨著中辨别出他需要的信息。George was not sure if he could pick out the facts he needed from the dense tome. Ben's argument was so chaotic that we couldn't pick out a real point from it. 本的论点实在是太混乱了，我们无法从中辨识出任何有价值的内容。Ben's argument was so chaotic that we couldn't pick out a real point from it. We couldn't pick out who was supposed to be the good guy of the movie. 我们分辨不出谁该是这部电影的正面角色。We couldn't pick out who was supposed to be the good guy of the movie.
Another meaning, which is a little less common but related in an interesting way, is use lines or colors to decorate something, or use lines to distinguish something from the background. In this sense of pick out, you are often adding lines, usually outlines, to make something more noticeable or distinct. Here are some examples. Taylor picked out her black dress in gold lace. Taylor picked out her black dress in gold lace. Jenny picked out her characters with bold lines against the background. Jenny picked out her characters with bold lines against the background. You can't miss it. The name of the store is picked out in shiny gold letters. You can't miss it. The name of the store is picked out in shiny gold letters. This meaning is a bit less common now, but pick out can mean remove by picking. Unlike the earlier sense of choose, this comes from another meaning of pick, meaning to pull at with the fingers or a small tool.
用 pick out 来表示去除时，通常意味着某物跟其他的东西缠在了一起，需要一定的技巧或力气才可以将它们分开。我们来看几个例子。Sophie picked out the old threads before resewing the seam. 索菲在重新缝合裂缝之前拆除了一下旧线头。Sophie picked out the old threads before resewing the seam. Lisa carefully picked out hairs from the quilt. 丽萨小心翼翼地清除了被子上的头发。Lisa carefully picked out hairs from the quilt. Ellen picked out a few weeds from her garden. 艾伦拔除了他花园里的一些杂草。Ellen picked out a few weeds from her garden.
Finally, to pick out a piece of music can mean to play the music, especially if you are playing it out one note at a time. It often implies that the person playing is unfamiliar with the piece or trying to work it out by ear. Let's take a look at some examples. Eric picked out a tune on the piano. Eric picked out a tune on the piano. Jimmy tried to pick out the melody on his cello. Jimmy tried to pick out the melody on his cello. Though he had only heard the song once, he was able to pick it out on his guitar. Though he had only heard the song once, he was able to pick it out on his guitar. All right, we should have covered all the meanings you're most likely to encounter for pick out. Hope you can spend some time familiarizing yourself with the different meanings so you can pick out the right one when you run into it in daily life.
下节微课我们会继续学习高频短语动词 go back 和 come back 的用法，咱们下节课见吧。
Thank you for watching and see you next lesson. Bye. Support us on Patreon for access to exclusive learning materials. You can follow along with a PDF of our lesson PowerPoint, download high-quality audio files to listen to our lessons on the go, or get access to bilingual transcripts of each lesson. Just go to patreon.com/CorleyEnglish, select your monthly pledge amount, and instantly gain access. Your contribution will help us to keep creating more quality English learning content for you to enjoy. Thank you!